toy spot, we are having a look at the Hasbro Marvel Legends Infinite Series Ultron Wave. We're finally having a look at the Build-A-Figure Ultron. It didn't actually take us very long to get to a final Ultron. This particular figure only really required 6 pieces. You had your main torso, 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head. The end result, pretty happy with it. I feel like it was one of the more satisfying collections to put together, or at least to build over the course of videos. The reward was a very, if you ask me, a very satisfying Ultron. It so far surpasses the Jubilee and some of the other dismal Build-A-Figures that we've had to look at. It's not overly big, no. Ultron could have probably fit being released on his own, although he is taller, of course, than some of the other Marvel Legends figures. But the figure really ends up being quite nice. Personal opinions, though. There's a close-up look at his face, which is very accurate to how he looks in the movie. Personal opinions, I feel like I wasn't crazy about Ultron's look in the movie. Like how he appears in the comics, where he's just got like the red eyes and the red insets of the areas inside his mouth. I like that a little bit more. He looked almost a little too humanoid in the Age of Ultron movie, almost on par with like maybe like a Michael Bay Transformer. I wasn't crazy about it. And I guess, what was it, the later, was it Ultron Prime, the second version of him, I even liked him less than how he looked initially in the movie when he first appears as Ultron. So, design-wise, not crazy about it, but I think overall he looked cool, if that makes any sense. He looked cool, I just kind of wish he looked a little more like he did in the comics. This particular figure, I think, recreates Ultron quite nicely. The silver accents are a nice touch to break up some of the dark, almost dirty gray that they've used for the majority of him. In fact, when you flip him around to the back, there's not really a lot of color on there, and I don't know if that was intentional. If it wasn't, I would say shame on Hasbro that they didn't actually finish what they started, because everything looks good from the front until you flip around to the back, and there's not really much to be said for paint on the back. It's really missing a lot. But I guess if you are looking at from the front, overlooking the fact that he is so void of paint, looking at it from the front, pretty good. Happy with the face, happy with the sculpt on the body. Very, very good. Overall, A-okay. By the way, if you are wondering how he stacks up, I know we've kind of already been doing this over the course of these videos, but there he is next to the last figure we had to look at, and that's Ant-Man. Taller, yes. I would be very disappointed if he was like the exact same height as one of the Marvel Legends figures. Ultron should tower. He shouldn't be big and bulky, granted. He should be more skinny like he is here, but he definitely should tower over the other figures. In the way of his posability, Ultron's head is on a ball joint. Very nice movement going on there. Shoulders hinge. Oops. Try not to get the arm completely out. Pop that back in. There we go. Shoulders hinge all the way around. He's got a swivel point at the top of the bicep. Double bend to elbow. Also has a hinge in the hand. Upper torso has a crunch. I'm not crazy to the fact that clicks. I was worried about clicking joints. But he also has a swivel point in the waist. Ball joint legs. Top cut, and there goes the leg. Sometimes never puts these in properly. There we go. Swivel point at the top of the thigh, double hinged knee, and finally a hinge foot. Very happy. Very, very happy with this figure. It turned out as good as I had hoped. I wish, though, yes, there was more paint on the back, but all things considered, I think he turned out pretty good indeed. So there you have Ultron. Overall, great figure. I think he turned out very, very cool. Okay, so let's have a look at some of Spot's favorite figures from this particular line. I gotta say, there's a lot. The previous lines, some of them were a little hit or miss, and I'm trying to think of really one of the more disappointing lines was, I think the Hulkbuster, to be honest, was one of the more disappointing lines. Great Build-A-Figure, yes, but like all the figures were kind of just okay. This line, on the other hand, really ended up impressing me. I think by far my favorite figure from this line was probably the Grim Reaper. Try not to knock Ultron down in the process, but Grim Reaper by far was my favorite figure from this line. Just gave an extra little bit of breath of fresh air to maybe a line that I started losing a little bit of interest in because it was so much neutral faces. Speaking of neutral faces, I liked Giant Man for the coloring and everything else on him, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. Just, you see a lot of these neutral faces so often, and it gets a little tiresome. He was, by the way, not one of my next favorite figures. My next favorite figure, by far, was Bulldozer. And Bulldozer, as almost tall as he was to Ultron, trying to get him to properly stand here. There we go. Very, very happy with this figure. Coloring quite nice, paint exceptional, and again, he has a really non-neutral expressioned face. I also really like Tiger Shark, though unfortunately just really short and stocky. Now I can kind of write that off for Tiger Shark because I don't know, I just kind of think more Tiger Shark as a big stocky character. So he's probably my third favorite, followed by Wasp, followed by Giant Man, followed by Ant-Man. But these are the cream of the crop. They rise to the top. They never eat a pig. Wait, what are we talking about here? Getting off topic here. These are my three favorite figures from this line. The gold, the silver, the bronze. And then in the back, you've got Ultron. Pretty overall, a solid line of really, surprisingly, a really impeccable series of Marvel Legends. And the icing on the cake was definitely building this guy in the back. Today's Toy Spot, we were finished. That's it. Store's closed. We're all going home. We're having a look at the Build-A-Figure of Ultron, and Spot again was adding his comments on the overall series. Thanks for watching, as you always do, guys, and certainly stay tuned. Of course, Spot's going to have more videos heading your way. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.